and gently. Or drop him like a brick. Velocity in one direction means his mass will want to keep going in that direction. It's surprising, isn't it? So if velocity's the problem, why not bail out before you reach top speed?
Oh, that's a bad idea. Oh, that's a very bad idea.
Yeah, you think? Okay, yeah, that was a bad idea. When he bailed out, he'd already built up far too much speed for his legs to keep up. You see, just a little goes a long way. Oh, and that's the up escalator, matey. Read the signs, please. Look, remember the science. Your feet can slow you down gradually.
That's more sexy, like.
Yeah, it doesn't do it for me. But the point is, he can run out all that velocity when he reaches the bottom. Well, right idea, not quite the right time to do it.
You actually right.
No. Well, not surprising, really. When I first heard of tumbling, I thought, sounds a bit like falling over. Turns out it is. Okay, but when executed correctly, it looks more like this. A proper gymnastic discipline that involves linking somersaults, flips, and twists. Even the best gymnasts have to start somewhere. So here's some flipping science. The gymnast starts with a powerful takeoff, leaning in the direction he wants to rotate. Once airborne, the more he tucks in, the more he will rotate. It's the conservation of angular momentum, and means he can increase his spin speed by as much as 3 times. Finally, he lands with his center of mass slightly in front of his feet, so that his momentum brings him to a stable position. So it's about getting your spin spot on. But of course, every good tumble starts with a powerful takeoff. This does seem to lack a professional feel, but let's give him a go. Go on, lad. Oh, he may be young, but if you want to make it in tumble, you've got to give it more than that. Never mind, son.
Come on, Joe.
Joe's built of sturdier stuff, but is power all you need? Now, you also need a bit more rotation than this. Come on, lean into it. And this, well, it's just a bit flat. By not bringing in his mass, the result is, once again, too little rotation. Tuck in, mate. But can you do too much? Yeah, you can. That's over-rotation.
And from Mexico, this is Nick Rodriguez.
Yeah, Nick from Mexico, but what's your angular momentum like, Nick? Sort of a mixed bag, then. Nick landed with his center of mass ahead of his feet. Yeah, he over-rotated. Oh, hang on, he's turned it around. And himself about 3 times. Well done, Nick. You've done your country proud. Remember, if you do land on your feet, make sure they're in front of your face, not the other way around. It's not to win any tumbling trophies, but it is favourite reading position. Interestingly, good job the floors are covered with soft mats. The walls, not so much. These guys are trying to get into a watermelon using the most convoluted method possible. But what science will this culinary exercise reveal? Now, did you guess what science we are about to witness? Yep, it's compressive force. The watermelon's tough skin and rounded shape allows huge compressive forces to build up from the rubber bands as they're added. So when it finally gives way, the pressure is so great that the top fires into the air at around 13 miles an hour. Who says fast food can't be healthy? As social media challenges go, tipping a bucket of icy water over your head seems pretty safe. But there are some do's and don'ts when it comes to a hazard-free pour. If you're not feeling confident, don't do it on your own.
Somebody should be doing this for me.
Yeah, I just told you that. Do throw the water. Don't throw the bucket. And of course, don't use a dumper truck. It's elementary, really. And now we've covered the basics, onto the nitty-gritty. And by that I mean science. A bucket of sloshing water's moving centre of mass makes it difficult to control. By holding the bucket with both hands at the bottom, that centre of mass is above the pivot point formed by your hands, which would make it difficult to balance the bucket as you pour. For more control, you can grip the bucket with one hand at the top of the rim, supporting it at the bottom with the other. Better still, you can support the side of the bucket on a solid object so that it pivots around it. So the science is telling us that the perfect pour is down to a well-placed hold. It's a technique that not everyone seems to have got to grips with. Ah, the classic ice bucket challenge. Let's see if he was paying attention.
Yeah, here we go.
No, your hands were a bit close to the bottom there, son. But don't worry, you're not the only one. Here's a family scenario. One of these three is about to face the same problem, but can you guess which one? Not her. It's her. And in this family, the punishment for failing science is swift. Other than standing on one leg, she briefly removed her second hand from the top of the bucket and was too late correcting it. And whilst he had a bigger bucket, it wasn't a problem because his technique was spot on. He is a grown-up, sort of. Now to get a bit of height. A balcony is perfect. And remember, you want to pivot that bucket on its side. But where do you not want to pivot it? Oh yeah, the bottom. Oh, did you know water is extremely heavy? About 800 pounds per 100 US gallons. That's heavy. Yeah. This bucket of water is around the weight of 63 bags of sugar. But not as sweet. So surely it wouldn't be sensible to try anything heavier. But then this show isn't called The Science of Sensible. Is it? Does he realise that that isn't just a moving centre of mass, it's also an extremely big mass? Well, he does now. If you read a kayaking manual, the first chapter is likely to be about launching it into the water. And there is the key word, water. But as we all know, real men don't read manuals. Yes, unfortunately, land kayaking is a real thing. People actually do for real. So if you insist on joining their ranks, it wouldn't hurt to learn a bit of self-control. Cue the science. A big challenge in land kayaking is steering. One method is to drag your paddle against the ground. This creates a friction force away from the centre of mass, slowing you down more on one side than the other and making you turn. Another solution is to prod your paddle against the ground. The force you exert on the ground turns the kayak, this time in the opposite direction. Just to show you it can be done, here's some guys who seem to know what they're doing. Nice. And to address the balance, here's someone who doesn't. Hang on, where's your paddle? Not so good. Well, what do you reckon? Look, don't worry if you're on a tight budget, even a plank will do. By applying a little pressure to the road on one side, he generates enough friction to keep him moving to the left. Beautifully done, sir. A quick note though, even if you do bother trying to steer, you won't get much friction on ice. But you will get speed. So don't forget, the prodding technique also works. Providing you use your eyes. That's more like it. A couple of quick prods, you're safely past the tree. That could be nasty. And here comes your mate.
What the hell?
I know, all that fit to aim for. Now, Now, you've heard of slacklining. No. Well, it's this. Acrobatics on a kind of giant elastic band. It's a bit like a cross between a tightrope and a trampoline. Trouble is, they're not that slack. It's all about something called elastic potential energy. What's that, Richard? I hear you cry. Well, you're about to find out. When an elastic object deforms, it stores up elastic potential energy. The greater the force of his weight on a slackline, the greater the energy it stores. When he bounces on a slackline, it can deform to such an extent and stores so much energy that when released, it launches him into the air. The key is to keep his center of gravity directly over the line, so that released energy launches him in the right direction. Ever accidentally flicked yourself with an elastic band? No, I don't know how you would, but if you did, you'd find it stings. Now, what if that elastic band was a lot bigger? Oh, it'd be a bit like that. Just by standing on it, the slackline stores up loads of potential energy, which remains stored as long as he's in perfect balance. So much energy was released that the line flicked up before he even had time to fall. You got the line? Yeah, it's called a nut shot. I can't think why. Nothing like a helping hand to keep that center of gravity directly above the line. It's even more helpful if you don't let go. Now, it's all very well walking in a straight line, but slacklines are made for bouncing. Although there is a little fact you should bear in mind. Energy stored is proportional to stretch squared. But what does that actually mean? Just twice the stretch equals 4 times the energy. And 4 times the pain, roughly. This is ambitious. But at least there's a lake to break his fall. Looks a bit cold, though. Now, when he jumped, the slackline stored loads of energy. And once his center of gravity was off, the energy that was released sent him flying. Chill out, fella. So, remember, center of gravity. Elastic potential energy. Oh, and the nut shot. There he goes.